I realized that I had a Zoom account, which meant that I could record, and I think it's going to be easier than using my Doxy with some kind of add-on that I don't really quite understand. Doxy,
Yeah,
they say they're updating soon to include recording capabilities, so that'll be cool. But
that'd be good because I would love to use it with my parents who I'm doing
yeah,
child-parent relationship therapy with.
yeah.
You
So
know,
I didn't print it because my printer at home's not working, so I'm just using my other laptop.
okay.
Well,
Good morning.
good morning, Lulu. So full disclosure, if this gets audited by my professor, we have a
Okay.
long, lovely, and growing relationship together, and I'm so excited to
Mm-hmm.
be doing just another great thing with you. And I feel like I'm going to learn as much from you, hopefully, as you will from this. And so I think that will help me segue into my first question, really, that I didn't include on the document that you have is, and maybe, you know, you did ask me what to prepare, and I didn't think about asking you to do this, but you've been thinking for the last couple of days since we've agreed to do this about it. And I know you're already in supervision for your LAC.
Yes.
And maybe this will be different, but do you have a couple of goals or intentions or things you'd like to get out of this experience of supervision slash training supervision with me?
The way I'm thinking of it, because I have two supervisors. I just hired a specialist in play therapy. So that's where young children will be focused on with play therapy, and all my other clients, teenagers and adults, will be with my main therapist, my main supervisor.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about it, I was saying there's so many things that are new to me as a new LAC.
Yeah.
That I would like to match. There's so many things I could pick, I'm saying, but I'd like to match it to an area that would be especially good for you and I to work on, because I'm doing that the same with my other supervisors. So broadly, I don't feel as much confidence in some things. Like I hate to start with negatives because I feel good about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But in terms of developing treatment plans, like looking at the client and trying to make some determinations about where we're going,
Okay.
how we might get there. I really spent a lot of time in building the rapport, especially through telehealth.
Yes.
I've been doing a lot of that kind of work. And again, anything in telehealth, like I would like to, in terms of, you know, your arts background, your expressive arts background, I'm always looking for new ways to interact with. I have a lot of teenagers who love to use art.
Great.
And
Okay.
they've been leading the way. I would like to take it to a new level.
Okay.
Because they bring their art that they do outside of session to sessions. So I get a little lost there. I think, oh, I bet there's more I could do with it. Although I see the metaphor in it, I could see the work they're doing behind it and what they're focused on. I think maybe I could learn more from you about that.
Okay.
And then just being a new counselor, remembering what messages I hear from you and other colleagues who are counselors. Don't work harder than the client. Just being there as in my person-centered approach, being there for that client, being a container for those kind of messages.
Reinforcing
that would be really great, because I do have my dips in confidence a lot.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then learning how to really talk and contextualize a client. Like, I don't think I'm really great with my supervisors. I sort of flop all over the place. Like, I like to learn a little bit more, because this is a learning process. This is 3,000 hours of a learning process.
So exciting.
And how to best structure that. So there's got to be something in there somewhere that you and I
it's
in
great.
these 5 sessions.
I mean, honestly, at first when you were like developing treatment plan, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm like 25 years into this, and maybe I'm like, oh, that's so dry, but I think we can do that in a less dry way.
That's great.
And because I heard you, and I always tell people right from the start that my first goal with everybody I meet is to develop rapport. And And yeah, and I can see how even I sometimes get lost in like the where are we going. And so that's a really interesting, that would be an interesting focus to keep returning to.
Only because, Lauren, I have a sense that we are making progress and movement in
Yeah,
the therapy process, but
yes,
then I get all anxious. Am I? How am I
right.
doing that? What is my target? Because
Yeah,
sometimes I found with one adult, I got off track because I didn't
right.
have a goal and focus or a treatment plan
Okay.
to go back to.
Well, that will be an awesome challenge for me.
Okay.
And a great place to have discussions because probably, uh, yeah, goal oriented is really not my, maybe conscious top of mind in math, in a lot of what I do, but, I love that. And also another, I'm um, right in the mix of the growing edge of using the arts in telehealth, of course. Like I
Okay.
never, I mean, I was so resistant to doing telehealth ever because of, um, it just didn't seem like it would be relational enough for the kind of work I do. Um, and And so I love that because that will help me to commit to learning more to share with you. And the timing has been amazing. I just signed up for, unfortunately it's only once a month, but it's going to start next week. And it's a 2-hour intensive, like there's only 4 of us, intensive supervision using the arts, like class, but we're going to be bringing cases.
Nice. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and
That's great.
the woman who's running it is graduated from Leslie where I did. So I think,
Oh, nice.
anyway, so yeah, so I'm constantly looking at how to use the arts in telehealth. And I think going back to what we were talking about a little bit before we started taping, when I said I took this course before, I'm so glad I'm taking it again at this point in my career because at the time when I took it, I was doing it much more just by the book and what they were teaching. And of course, I gained so much. And this time, lots of that is review, but really important learning. But now I feel that I'm committed to developing myself in the area, strengthening the area of using the arts and supervision. So I didn't think about that 17 years ago or 18 years ago.
No, no.
So even if I thought of it, I would have thought that's not okay. I have to do it this very traditional way. So just as I've developed myself as an arts based clinician, now I feel like that can be, I know how I see how that could work in supervision. Not to say that I also will be bringing in all the essential elements that are required as a licensed supervisor, but yeah, and
Well, we pick and choose our supervisors,
right,
and hopefully we do intentionally, trying to be a good match. So I would think
that's
what
right,
you could bring to it will be something that somebody's very interested in
right.
infusing in their work.
And fun fact, that I was invited last February to this like counselor education, I forget what the association, it's the counselors and supervisors. They were all supervisors in counselor ed to do she thought, oh, we think you'd be a really nice piece to have on so I had a 2-hour with these people, but as I was,
I remember
right?
that.
And as I was
Yeah.
preparing, I was like, what am I doing? Like they're all supervisors and I started with like, I don't even have the S. I'm now training, doing a training. Well, it went so well. I loved doing it. But the professor of this class messaged and said, I thought your name was familiar. And he was present. So I feel really good that he had an experience with using that. And, you know, some of the feedback I got, like when Mary said it was one of the most valuable things she reached out to me later and said the insight she gained through that on a hard case that she was working on just helped.
Yes.
So I'm so excited that he will have some context for like what I mean, you know,
That's
and
great.
experience. Yeah. So, yeah, so I also got the impression last night in the class that he didn't expect us to be conducting these like actual supervision, but I intend to. I want to, you know, use cases. And so along that line, I guess one of the questions I had for him, and maybe you have more information about how this works based on you have supervision with outside of your agency people.
Yes.
Are you, how does it work? Are you required to tell your agency or your clients that you are seeking supervision, like that you have outside supervision?
It's in our consent form, and I wasn't verbally doing it, but now that I've reread, I just signed my new supervisors. She has like almost 15, 16 pages of papers to go through. She's very serious about her supervision. And it was a reminder in there, and I should be actually saying this in the beginning to parents, because I don't have, like, our interns have to tape their sessions. I don't have to tape their sessions. But now that I have this particular supervisor, her requirements for play therapy supervision is I will have at least, I think, 3 sessions that she has to see. So I do have to tape it. So I wasn't covering that as deeply in the beginning. So yes, I am supposed to tell my clients that I am being supervised.
Okay.
Because I'm an LAC.
Okay, and I don't know if there's nuanced difference in terms of what you tell them that you're engaging in sessions with someone who is training. But the feedback that the professor, Dr. Ray, gave was that even though, you know, you might, you know, we'll just not talk, we will not, like, no identifying information, so that, and you probably do that anyway. But I will not be asking you to videotape. So if it can work that we keep it more on a, I mean, how do you not do identifying, you know, when you're.
I don't even use names with my supervisors.
Right.
I'll use initials.
So we'll.
And age and presenting problem.
I will get more clarity about that, and maybe even, you know, maybe even if it comes to mind for you, you might ask your supervisors how that might, you know, what would be the best way to do that, you know, under these circumstances, because I actually do want you to, if it feels necessary and you want to bring cases, I want you to be able to. Otherwise, we can do it in a more sort of,
right, because I had to sign my life away with, I have to sign contracts with my supervisors. And I think mostly the conversation with parents and clients is around the fact that I'll be talking about your case with my supervisors.
Right.
Not that I'm a newbie and I have this obligation. It's mostly about, we will be discussing it.
Yes.
At times.
Okay, I'm looking for that first one I sent you. Okay, so the one that was up on our course is the first one that I don't think it formatted properly, and it's the one that's Southern Arkansas University Graduate Counseling Program.
Yes.
Supervision consent, and this is, yeah, I mean, I started taping you, but you haven't signed it yet, but so that is just so for you and I to have an agreement that you know that I'm going to be taping these for my training purposes. And that's what that is. So if you want to, how do you sign and send documents? Because I
can scan it on our copier and then email it to you.
Perfect. Okay. All righty. So now what I worked up, and I put in the title of that email, is that it's pretty rough right now because I'm just working on creating the, I guess, you know, it's a contract so that it can really lay out the framework. And I looked up a lot of different examples of contracts to see you know, what's required and what's helpful. And so, of course, if you don't mind, we can go over that together,
Okay.
and that's what we'll do for today, and then finish just a little before 10 because I'm going to move into, you probably have a 10 o'clock too, but so
Yep.
get a few minutes to, what that is actually one thing I'm finding the most challenging on telehealth is giving myself a break in between sessions
Yeah.
in a way that have been better at in
Mm-hmm.
face-to-face.
Yeah. It is interesting.
Right?
Yep. And
Like
then sometimes it's real easy because it's a good breaking point, but other times it goes right up to the hour. And I hate being late on telehealth, but they can see I'm online. And
I know.
sometimes I'll go ahead and do a quick chat.
That's what I do. I'm
Yeah.
5 minutes or something because,
Yeah.
in real life, we would finish up and also the I don't know if you've noticed this, but well, you pretty much went to telehealth as soon as you started, I'm sure.
A month and a half before
What
I
a
was
way to
doing in
train.
person. I know.
Oh,
I know.
well, because, that transition of like, we were in my office and we were in that space of doing therapy, and then I had the transition piece of like scheduling the next one, taking payment, so that it
Oh,
helps to sort of shift before we leave the room. And then I always walk them down the hall as a way, say goodbye. And then if my next person's waiting in the waiting area, I'll say, just gonna take a potty break, or I'll be right with you, so it's just much more fluid. And it's like, that doesn't happen here.
no.
And so anyhow, that was all about the challenges of telehealth. But so yeah, the first category on there is the goals and objectives. And I'm sure this is very similar to what you have in your other supervision. And of course, mainly my understanding is that as a supervisor, when I get there, my job will be, of course, and this is the most exciting part, to promote the development of your professional, supervisee's professional competence. And that excites me.
Good.
And obviously be very mindful of the welfare of the clients that
Mm-hmm.
I see. And then, of course, this is the part that I think will be, the administrative challenging part for me will be, to really make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to fulfill the requirements that the supervisee would have as part of their license. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then,
because we're still learning that as well. We depend on our supervisor to kind of know those rules better than
right,
us.
yes, right,
Not to babysit us, but in a sense to
right.
keep on track,
That's the part that's a little daunting for me, but I know it's like being aware of the stuff that I don't know, but I can and will know
Mm-hmm.
in the soon, and be able to get help with that too. But to make sure that everything's done right, and then my understanding is it really is the LAC's responsibility to double check
Yep.
that everything's being done right. So that feels good to me.
Yeah.
Similar to
Yeah.
similar to don't work harder than your clients. Maybe don't work harder than your LACs.
Right.
um,
Exactly.
so the next part is like wordy, and I'm going to be working on sort of hopefully, I don't know, I'm wordy, so my documents are wordy, but I titled it the content process, and then also the supervisory relationship, because that all seemed important. So in real world, we would meet face to face for consultation, but I'll be doing it over video
Mm-hmm.
and recording you, and then hopefully being able to provide feedback in each session. And I don't want to be looking away while I'm also doing this. So, and then I included that part of my style is to teach. So, there might be teaching moments that we of course reflect on, and maybe I love to share, if that reminds me of a story that I learned through So
I
that's
love that. That's great. I'm a learner who likes that.
good. Good.
Especially when people tell you, in a sense, one of the hardest lessons they learn in counseling. I mean, it's the scenarios you never want to happen to you, but when you hear somebody else talk about it
Yeah.
and how they actually got through it, because I always think, oh, I'm not going to recover from that kind of mistake or
Oh,
that happening that was really out of my control, but at the same time,
right.
you're in a therapeutic relationship.
Good.
Even, and then other things as well. Oh, I don't know how to report a case or
Yes.
how to take an emergency call.
Right. Or yes, what to do under, right. And so I really appreciate, Lulu, that you just said that's the kind of learner I am, because that's important as a supervisor, is to take that into consideration. And I feel like, I mean, we already agreed to do this and it's a 5-hour commitment, but I feel like that would be absolutely part of my initial interviews with supervisees when we're interviewing each other, whether we're a good fit, because the learning styles have to be, I guess, compatible, or, that I feel like I can meet that need. It's funny, what comes to mind when I say that is I often there's this one category of client, young, anxious 20-somethings, early 30-something, like often single, corporate-minded women show up for me. And I always think, we're from opposite planets. What is going on here? And they often ask, like right off the bat, what the structure is. They try to structure it.
Yeah.
And will there be homework? And will there be da-da-da? And I have, and it's like, and I often share or reflect back that they're coming because they are aware they have a high level of anxiety and want help with that. And in a gentle way, I'll say, what you're presenting right now is like manifestation of that high level of anxiety. You're wanting to structure it, and you want structure from me. And if there will be some structure, but if you're willing, and I share, we're from different planets. That's not how I work. And maybe working with me will be the right thing for you to see what it's like to be more in a flow. And it's hard for both of us. But anyway, so back to like, just because a learning style might be different than what I might be able to say, how about maybe you're interested in trying a different way.
Right,
So,
exactly. And I think that's even what happened with my supervisor. I'm learning a lot about the business because she runs the business, which is really important, right? To be an LPC eventually.
So important.
But she recognized that I was bringing lots of play therapy questions, and her colleague is an expert in that and could not take me originally for the first 1 hour for every 10 clients. So I couldn't fit in her schedule, but now I can fit there this many months later and have that special focus on play. So we adjusted my original supervision to do that, with her still being the main supervisor, main hours.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, so moving down, I include a paragraph about how, just like the client, for me, just like the client therapist relationship, so is the supervisee relationship of critical importance for the growth. And so I'm aware that, I think we have a good relationship, and this will be a different part of it. And then I talk about, it's really important for me to be able to always provide a safe atmosphere for you to have, feel comfortable to ask questions. And you mentioned, stuff about loving to hear stories about mistakes that are made. And, and I love to view, unless like there's danger involved, mistakes are, well, they're all such valuable learning experiences.
Or
And,
not even just mistakes, that maybe was a limiting
right,
word.
right.
Yeah, about your process and what you
Yeah,
learned.
you're
Yeah.
right. So there's no, so ultimately, that you can feel comfortable. Um, and I'm saying you, meaning every supervisee I may meet moving on, but that one would feel comfortable enough to not be um, withholding difficult, so
Yep, absolutely.
that I won't be judging anything as a mistake, but just a great learning opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's what I've realized about supervision. I have to be vulnerable
yes,
because number one, I don't want to make a mistake, but if I'm hiding because I don't want someone to know I'm not good at something,
I know.
that's not good for my clients
Right.
or even good for my license, I thought. And
Wow.
so it's been a
Yeah.
big, grateful dive that I've got a supervisor I can do that with and the other person as well,
Good
you
for
know?
you. I think that's
Yeah.
so good. I mean, I used to teach at NWAC, and I would notice so like the like I know that humbling oneself to be a learner, especially later in one's career, can be very challenging. And often will say like, that's why you're here. Like if you
Hmm.
knew this stuff, you wouldn't be here. I want the questions. What is so hard is when you don't ask the questions, and it shows when you pretend you know.
Right. Right. For sure.
So it's really important to bring that safety. And then I'm talking down further a little bit about just how I supervise. And so this might shock and surprise you that I work from a very person-centered place, and also I do work from a developmental framework, which I think can be understood in so many ways. But when I meet someone, I meet them where they are,
Hmm.
and I'm not necessarily stuck on chronologically what age they are and where one is supposed to be, but really get a sense of where they are developmentally on, cognitively, emotionally, what else? Physically, even,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and all the varied aspects of, how development in different areas can be stronger or less strong in a person.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that really informs me a lot. And I love that stuff that we're reading in our supervision class really talks about different developmental stages in terms of the counselor's growth.
Hmm.
Lulu, I know that you're a new LAC, but you're an expert in so many things to do with human development and facilitating um, growth in kids. And like, I turn to you for advice on so many things. So, um,
It is coming in handy that parent
oh my
background that I
goodness.
have is
Well,
really working very well in my process with supervision.
yeah,
I'm carving out more time with the parent to be a partner with me.
fabulous.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Hmm.
think I love that because I just love that. I know that I don't work with kids anymore, and one of the reasons is the difficulties around, like, drop off your kid and wave a magic wand, and
Yeah. Hey, fix them for me, will ya?
yeah, I didn't do this. I have no
Right.
part in this.
Right.
So I also move in to say that I will incorporate creative approaches and expressive arts and a little rationale around why, and I say that it can provide alternative means of exploring dynamics of personal practice, and that engaging in arts and supervision can really move into a place of new awareness, and even around clinically related situations. And seeing that in practice in the times that I've been able to facilitate that has been just so rewarding. And, I really believe in, I recognize that I have language for it now. I never really have the language, but there's lots of talk about top down and then bottom up process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, everything comes through my feelings and through images and through other ways. I'm articulate, but that's not where it goes first.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll even mention to my clients sometimes that when they say something to me, I might just be like, eyes closed for a second, and I realize what's happening there is that's where the information is now like coming up, and I need to find the words for
Mm-hmm.
what I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling. So I think that's what the arts can do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that it just, the stuff that arrives on a different level, just to get more in tune with how that is. And sometimes that information, receiving the information and exploring the information in that place can bring so much more depth than just head up,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe down to feeling. I'm not sure. I don't know how that works because I'm not a top down, but
Yeah, I'm working on learning that, trying to incorporate that into my knowledge base.
top down.
Mm-hmm.
But would you say you're more bottom up?
I don't know. I'm just really trying to grasp the whole thing, the whole
Sure.
concept of it. Like for me, and this might be just different words saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It starts in our physiology, not our psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm just like going, what? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, all this reacts much faster.
Mm-hmm.
The system reacts much faster. And then it informs here. And
That's
then
right.
we screw it up because we make all these misinterpretations.
Maybe.
And,
Right.
or, coping around it and not dealing with or acknowledging what just is occurring in the body.
Yes. That
Something
makes
like
so
that.
much sense. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think, and what's very interesting about my approach, I think, to using the arts is, and sometimes, I like to explain this, people think, okay, I'll do the art process, and then now that it's been created, there's a concrete something, an image, a poem, something, now we will use that as the thing to talk about. And then I need a bridge to my head. And sometimes I say, let's not go there. Let's not now say, let's not now bring it up to our head. Just keep it in there. The work is happening.
Mm-hmm.
There are shifts going on. It's almost like we're insulting the process by saying that was just like a means to an end. I think it is the end in itself sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I guess I can be more. Do you get what I'm saying?
And my kids don't do that. They've done it on their paper. They're good. They're like, they did the work.
Right.
They're on to something else because they don't need to make that shift.
That's exactly right.
The whole drawing part and then showing it to me was what they needed to do. That was it.
Stuff happened. Like, that through the play, stuff is happening. And then we don't have to say, okay, well, that's what this means.
Right.
Yeah. Like dreaming. I feel like it's like a similar place to a dream where you sometimes can wake up and feel a feeling because you had a dream, or have an insight because you had a dream, but or even not really be able to articulate it, but something felt good. And ultimately that's the goal, is to feel better. So
yes.
Okay, so little more about just understanding why you want to really be using the arts. And let's see, just to really enhance the I use it with clients to enhance their own understanding of themselves, and then I want to use it in supervision to help enhance understanding of what's happening in the session. And sometimes I think, especially as an LAC, we feel called upon to be there with just our head, and to really, I feel like I'm getting an opportunity to articulate this, to really just be present in our bodies in the session, which is hard when you think, I'm supposed to be something here as an LAC.
You're right. Oh yeah, I've caught that happening.
And like when you think, oh gosh, I'm going to talk about this in my supervision. So like you're taking notes in your head, then this, then that, right?
No.
Yes. Yeah.
I think about supervision last minute.
Good, good. Because I remember, well, in my training, there was a lot of, like, we did do video, so it was made it a little easier that I didn't have to like remember. But anyway, going on that I absolutely want it to be a collaborative framework. And oh, I think I used the word it. Oh, no. So there's 3 ways to go about this, and 3 parts of me and 3 parts of a supervisor. So I'm here as an educator, and not with you, but to some degree, I guess, as an evaluator, because I want to give you feedback. And then, of course, as a counselor, I have my skills as a counselor. So all these parts will be there, and whichever part feels appropriate in the moment will come forward. But I'm going to be challenging myself to not be there just as counselor. That's not what this is.
Right.
And not just as evaluator or educator, but just a blend of all that. So
that's great. I like that you actually just put that into words. I haven't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
In the role.
And well, it's straight from the textbook that we were looking at, and I liked it too. So yeah. So let's see. Lots more words about developing, and you can look over this more, but
yeah.
So seeing your developmental stages and as an essential component. So I'll take, like I said earlier, I'll be aware of that and taking that into an account. So yeah, a little more about, again, I got to edit this because it's a little repetitive, but about the relationship and how important it is to facilitate that. And awareness that I like bringing everything that's happening into the room, and there's one thing that will be happening, not necessarily with us, but in supervision, is there's, a differential in, or maybe even a perceived differential in the relationship in terms of especially if you're being, if supervisees being evaluated in a way that is, their license is contingent on. So I think that feels like a good place to insert this that I hadn't written, but I want to insert a piece about awareness of diversity, and feels like a funny thing to say to white women, right? Like, and they're, awareness of differences in our experiences, just because we might look like 2 freckly white women.
Curly girls typically too.
2 curly, freckly white women. But I want it to be top of mind to notice how our different cultural experiences may impact how we see what's happening in our sessions. And that feels like a really good thing to notice between us and bring as awareness into our work more now than ever. I love the magnifying glass on cultural awareness and diversity. And when we see people we just don't want to make assumptions.
No. And I don't know if I mentioned, I am working with someone in the Amish community.
Oh, yes.
And guess what? My experience is through TV and film, and this is not a good foundation to know her and her experience. So I'm constantly asking and reminding her, encouraging her to be my teacher.
Yes.
So I can understand what it is to be that age in that community.
Like. Yep. Tell me what it's like for you.
Yeah.
And notice when our lack of insight or experience around that might impact our biases. Like,
and it also changes the way that I work with everybody else, because there's no technology present for this young person's life for years. I mean, it's not a norm. So I've had to work harder to figure out how to connect in ways that I've connected with others that
Yeah.
worked easily because their connection with electricity and
Yeah.
phones and
Take
computers,
for granted.
and just the idea of what's in culture, in general, big mass media culture, that this particular individual does not have exposure to.
Oh,
So it changes everything.
I mean, funny story, but this just popped into my mind when I was in child and family outpatient at Ozark Guidance. I had a kiddo that was she lived in Missouri and she came for counseling. But I remember when she shared that they shot and ate squirrels, and and hopefully I didn't share my shock with her, but as a girl growing up in a city, I imposed a lot of values. There were things that interfered with that, like hunting, squirrels. Like
Yeah.
I wondered about whether that was I even wondered if that was reportable.
Yeah. Yeah. I
'Cause
get
that was
that
just completely out of my range.
experience. Yeah.
Yep. And I know that was just so culturally appropriate for a
Yeah.
girl
Right. And
living in
then,
rural
yeah. And then
Missouri.
it's like, if you're working with the child, then you have to figure out, what do I need to check in with the parent? Like, is this something the parent knows or doesn't know?
Right, right.
Like an 18-year-old vaping during our sessions.
Uh,
What is the
yes.
discussion around that without me becoming her mother, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be her mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is sort of in that area of what's different and new to my experience. And then how do I react to that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, so I had to check out my reality with, and consult and say, is that a thing? And it's a thing. And I
Mhm.
learned something and I had to release my assumptions and biases about it and say
Mhm.
that is not something. There was no shame in that for her. There was no they hunt and eat squirrels. That's what their
Mhm.
family does.
Mhm. No, thank you.
No.
Don't even give me a cow burger. No, thank you.
Okay, well, I don't, yeah, see, I can do that compartmentalizing. So, but yeah, for me, squirrels were like, they're city rats they were up on the wires and poles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyhow, um, going down and aware of the time. Oh, one thing I did want to include in that, and you've already had this experience, and I love hearing that this is appropriate too. That if you have a particular theoretical orientation or something that I don't have expertise in, um, I want to be open to. Okay, I can only come at it from kind of where I'm at and my theoretical orientation, but let's look at another place where you can really explore that. So bringing in other professionals who might be able to assist you if those are skills that you want that I don't have to share. So
Well, where I studied with Gary Landreth, who
yes.
was client-centered, child-centered.
Yeah,
So
we're a good fit, I
we're a
think.
good
But
fit.
maybe that means we're gonna like only be in an echo chamber. So who knows, right? So
Oh no, I'll push you.
and then I noticed, there's the things about our duties and responsibilities, and those are more, I'm here to encourage your professional education, to challenge you on approaches and techniques, to offer alternatives, to intervene if I hear clients at risk. I don't feel like that's going to happen for us, but if that's something you want to bring to me, I probably would have something to, help. We can explore that, but I would recommend that you bring it to your actual supervisor and,
Yeah.
of course, and, make sure that the supervisee is following their ethical guidelines and all that kind of stuff. And let's see. this really is a lot of bullet points about saying just be open and and open and do the right thing according to your ethical guidelines, your professional standards. And we'll talk a little more. I'll email you. I don't, I might use this as an opportunity to explore different ways for you to bring case information, but I'm still developing that thought. So
Okay.
I might say, hey, next time bring blah, blah. And so are you open to me emailing or texting you in between?
Yes, that would be fine.
And you can say, I don't have time. So
you and I email easier than, because we don't usually text too much.
well, we're like, we still have a Facebook Messenger relationship, but it's like, but I also have you on my phone. So which is best for you? Which is the best way to contact you with information?
I check emails pretty frequently.
Okay,
so.
and the one that I have, and you're going to respond to me with your work one so that it'll be in both. Okay.
Right.
Well, good to clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I saw that was, and this might be interesting, I think I can see how a supervisor would want to know this stuff. And to, it's about my background. And so you probably know that I have a master's in expressive therapies from Leslie. Putting the year down was like, in some ways I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm an expert, 1995.
Woo.
In other ways, it's like, oh, look how old I am. But that's
no.
And then prior to that, I got a graduate training certificate from an intensive program in Toronto. And then my bachelor's is in sociology and theater because only made sense to me and no one else. And
which makes sense to put your bachelor's down based on the kind of therapy you do. Yeah. Like my bachelor's is in childcare.
Right.
Child development.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing, and I chose sociology because it sounded like social work, and that made sense. So, and then, but the theater and sociology was an amazing blend. And I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm working towards my licensure, additional specialization in supervision. And I have a specialization from the board in art therapy because there isn't one in expressive therapies. And I could go on a soapbox talking about the difference, but I won't. And then when the licensing was very different in Canada and in Ontario. And so I was a clinical supervisor at a day treatment program for seriously mentally ill adults, and they were all expressive therapists that I was supervising. And I was adjunct faculty at a training program in expressive arts therapy where I was first the practicum coordinator and then supervised trainees in their practicums. So I feel like I've been like dipping my toes in this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
And then in that program, I was also able to develop, create and implement an arts-based supervision group. So it was kind of exciting to remember that and write that down. And like, I've done a lot of this stuff that didn't require a license there, but once I moved here, I didn't have the opportunity to really do that. So then I moved here and worked in an agency, as you know, and worked in school settings and child and family outpatient. And then I taught developmental psych at NWAC. So, and then established my own private practice. So yeah, it's like, and there's so much more that's not on there. And we have 1 minute, any questions?
No. So we'll move ahead with the Friday at 9.
Yes.
And you're going to find out about how much of a case I can bring. I can talk to my supervisor. I talked to her on Monday.
Yeah.
My supervisor. I let my supervisor here at the CAC know I'm doing this
awesome.
Too.
Perfect.
I haven't shared. I might share her this so she sees who I'm working with.
Okay, great.
Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Tell her my name. She can look me up just to make sure that she doesn't have any concerns. And like I said, this is super rough. So I did not put anywhere for us to sign it, but moving forward, that's what I would do, but I don't feel it's appropriate or necessary for us.
Yeah. And you're preferring to do it once a week. You don't have to hurry it up, do you? You have the time.
Oh, no. Once a week seems fine. And I think there's enough time that even if we have to skip a week, it's fine too. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, hopefully not, for sure. Thanks, Lauren. It's
Oh
so
my
great.
gosh,
I'm
thanks.
looking forward to this so much.
Me too. All right,
That's
have
good.
an amazing day.
Yes, you have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Later, Gata.
Later, Gita. Stop recording.